Ohio, Sevastopol. The Ukrainian Sevastopol, since 1783 on 1784 and from 1797 to 1826 years, hectare. The city in the southwest of the Crimean Peninsula, on the coast of the Black Sea. Non-freezing sea trade and fish port, industrial, scientific and technical, recreational and cultural historic center. Carries a rank hero town 2-2. In Sevastopol, the main naval base of the Black Sea Fleet of the Russian Federation is located. Till 2014 in the city, the main naval base of the navies of Ukraine was also located. The city of Sevastopol is included into the list of historical settlements of federal importance of Russia and into the list of the historical inhabited places of Ukraine. The state accessory of the territory of Sevastopol is a subject of disagreements between Russia controlling the disputed territory and Ukraine, which territory it is recognized as the majority of member states of EU. According to federal structure of Russia, Sevastopol is the territorial subject of the Russian Federation, the federal city. According to administrative division of Ukraine, Sevastopol is the region of Ukraine, the city with the special status. Etymology. It is founded in 1783 as naval port and the city in the Aktyarsky Bay. The name of the bay, on the Tatar village of Aktyar or Aktyar. Crimean Tatar Giant Stock Company, White Yar, the abrupt coast, break by the sea. In 1784, according to the tradition occurring then in the Russian Empire to give the new cities names on Greek manners, the name Sevastopol, the sacred city, was appropriated to the city. Greek Sebastos, highly respected, sacred, the policy, city. In 1797 the Emperor Paul I renamed the city into Aktyar, but also during operation of the decree of Paul I the city in parallel with Aktyar was called also Sevastopol, what maps and atlases of those years of the edition confirm. In 1826 the senatorial decree to the city returned the name Sevastopol. Geography. The area of the territory of the city is 1079.6 km, including the areas of the water area minus 216 km. The city of Sevastopol is located in a southwest part of the Crimean Peninsula on the Garaklaysky Peninsula. The historic center of the city is located on south side of the Sevastopol Bay. The territory of the federal city. The Sevastopol City Council. Borders on administrative units. Autonomous. Republic of Crimea in the northeast with the Bakhchirai district, and in the southeast, with the territory of the city district Yalta. The Yalta City Council. Total length of overland borders is 106 km. In the west and the south the territory of the Sevastopol region is limited to the coastline of the Black Sea, which total length is 152 km. Extreme points are: in the north there is a Cape Lukal. In the south Nikolay Cape. In the west there is a Cape Chersonese. In the east Mount Tesber on the Opatrinsky Yela. In the territory of the Sevastopol region all three main ridges of the Crimean Mountains originate. The southern ridge, the Balaklava Heights. Internal ridge, Mackenzievi Mountains. External ridge, the High Karatau. Main types of landscapes. Sosokolminsky, a feather grass and steppe, flat and frame landscape. In northern part of the city. Heracles Stevneshna Questovi, Karafitna Frigani. Occupies the biggest space. Balaklava Mountain, Suburban Gryadovi, Lesik Tarnakavi. District of Balaklava. Baydarsky Piedmont, Gorno Kotlivini, Forest Steppe. The smallest only area in the extreme southeast of the Balaklava district. Across the territory of Sevastopol, the rivers Balbek, Black and Kocha, occupying in the Crimea respectively the first, second and fourth place on full water content flow. The coast near Sevastopol is unique for the Crimea thanks to large number. More than 30 comfortable, well-protected non-freezing bays. Twisting coast of the longest Sevastopol Bay more than on 8 kilometers leave deep into peninsulas. Rocky capes and natural citadels. The Sevastopol Bay is considered one of several most comfortable bays in the world. Reserved territories of Sevastopol. Baydarsky, the landscape wildlife area of nationwide value. The Bay Cossack, the all zoological, hydrological wildlife area of nationwide value. The Cape of Aya, the landscape wildlife area of nationwide value. The Cape Island, the landscape wildlife area of nationwide value. Coastal Akvalny Complex at the Cape Island. Coastal Akvalny Complex at the Cape Lukal. Coastal Akvalny Complex at the Chersonese Reserve, a hydrological monument of local value. Saroklispinsky Coastal Akvalny Complex, a hydrological nature sanctuary. Skolalaspi, the reserved natural boundary. Ushakova a beam, a botanical nature sanctuary of local value. Sevastopol is in our zone Moskotime. Moskotime. Shift of the applied time concerning Utes is +300. According to the applied time and geographical longitude, average solar midday in Sevastopol comes at 12:46. The climate in the territory, which is under supervision of the Sevastopol City Council, is close to subtropical climate of the southern coast of the Crimea and has the features in 2 microclimatic subbands which have the city on Cape Island border. In the foothills, rather soft sea, moderately continental. On the southeast coast, subtropical, the Mediterranean type. Average monthly air temperature during the whole year is positive. The coldest month, February. Average temperature +2.8 C. The warmest, July. Average temperature +22.4 C. Temperature of a blanket of water of the Black Sea at the coast of Sevastopol also is always above zero, and in July averages +22.4 C. An atmospheric precipitation within a year drops out quite evenly. From 280 to 400 at. The driest month in a year, May. Duration of sunshine exceeds 2350 hours, including 1898 hours during the period April-October. And in July in Sevastopol, the solar disk, which is not closed by clouds, dominates in the sky within 356 hours. It is several watch more than to the east in Yalta and Alushta, and 122 watch more than in more southern Black Sea city of Batumi. History. From the most ancient population and the first mentioned people living here, Taurus, there were few traces. In the neighborhood of the city cromlechs and dolmens remained. In the 5th century BB, ancient Greeks, natives of Gerakli Pontic, founded Chersonese Taurion. There is a version about earlier foundation of the city mentioned as Strabanov Chersonese. Now ruins of Chersonese are in city line in Gagarinsky district of Sevastopol, where the Chersonese Memorial Estate is located. Occupied a considerable part of modern Sevastopol Choir. The agricultural territory of Chersonese. Chersonese was the independent policy, was a part Roman and then Byzantine empires. During the travel, Chersonese was visited by the Saint Apostle Andrew I called. In Chersonese the husband apostolic Saint Clement the Pope. The 1st century AD. Accepted martyrdom. In Chersonese also the Pope. The 7th century AD. Died in Saint Martin Ispovednik's exile. In 988 the city of Kherson. As the city in the Byzantine time began to hereinafter be referred to. In old Russian sources, Korsun sees the Kiev Prince Vladimir Sviatovich, who together with the team adopted Christianity here. Thus, Chersonese is considered the most probable place of the Christianization of Kievan Rus. It does not have direct confirmations in historical sources. But on the other side of others, baptisteries of the time except Chersonese in the territory of Russia are unknown. Chersonese was finally destroyed by army of the Golden Horde, with the Emir Edigi at the head in 1399. The territory in which Sevastopol grew subsequently belonged to the Principality of Feodora, which stood apart since the 13th century from Byzantium and also partially, and from the second half of the 14th century. The Genoa Republic, up to capture of all ownerships of Feodorate by the Ottoman Empire and Genoese in the Crimea in 1475. In 1475-1781, partially Crimean Khanate, and partially directly the Ottoman Empire. Basis and growth of the city. At once after annexation of the Crimea to Russia. Catherine II's manifesto, about acceptance of the peninsula Crimean, the island of Termona and all Cuban side under the Russian power, was published 8 on April 19, 1783. To the peninsula the order of the Empress directed the careful frigate under command of the captain of the 2-rank Ivan Bersin for the choice of the harbor at the southwest coast on which it was supposed to build strategically necessary military port. Having examined the bay at the settlement of Aiktire located near ruins of the ancient city of Chersonese Taurion in April 1783, Bersin recommended it as base for the ships of future Black Sea Fleet. Foundation date of modern Sevastopol is considered 3 on June 14, 1783. This day, under the leadership of the Rear Admiral Foma Fomic Mackenzie, the first 4 stone constructions of Sevastopol were mortgaged. The house of the commander of the Sevastopol squadron Thomas Mackenzie. Foma Fomic. A chapel, a smithy in the Admiralty and a pier called subsequently Count. The founder of the city was the Rear Admiral of the Scottish origin Foma Fomic Mackenzie. But 5 more years before Alexander Suvorov's decision on coast of the Sevastopol Bay constructed the first earth strengthenings and the Russian troops were placed. Originally the settlement was called Aiktire, the Crimean Tatar village of Giant Stock Company Yar, which by name was on the place of the city. Kernskotet. The White Coast Break. So far 10 on February 21. 1784 Catherine II did not enjoin suit with the decree Ga. Potemkina on its place big fortress and to call Sevastopol. The city was under construction on the means received by Potemkin from the Novorossiysk lands. Administratively Sevastopol was a part of the Taurian region formed as a part of the Ekaterinoslawskie namestnichestvo. The name of the city consists of two Greek words. Sevastos, highly respected, sacred, and policy, city. Sevastos, an equivalent of the Latin title, August, therefore Sevastopol means also the most august city, the imperial city. The translations which are not connected with an imperial title were given in the Soviet literature. For example, in the Big Soviet Encyclopedia the name is translated as the majestic city, the city of glory. In 1797 the Emperor Paul I renamed it into Aktire. In 1826 the senatorial decree to the city returned former Greek a name Sevastopol. Implementation of the initial scheme of city building was undertaken by F.F. Yushakov, appointed in 1788 the commander of port and the Sevastopol squadron. He built many houses, barracks, hospital, roads, the markets, wells. In 1802 Aktire was a part of the neogenic Taurian province, and 2 years is announced by the main military port of the Black Sea of the Russian Empire later. In the same 1804 the commercial port, however, was closed. It was open in 1808. But again is closed in 1809 till 1820 when in the city the port for in-Russian trade opened. The international trade port in Sevastopol was not till 1867. The city was the military working for the fleet. In 1822 from the 25,000 population of Aktire less than 500 people were civilians. But not only the initial stage of history of the city is connected with military science, so, in 1827 archaeological excavations of Chersonese of the Taurian, most ancient settlement within Sevastopol are begun. In 1830 in Sevastopol there was a large revolt provoked by quarantine measures during the Russian-Turkish War of 1828-1829, one of the first in a series cholera revolts of 1830-1831. It began 3 on June 15, and quickly involved sailors, soldiers, city bottoms. 4 on June 16. Risen killed the city governor and Stolypin, several officials, and to 7 on June 19. The city was in hands of rebels. After suppression of a revolt of 1580 participants were betrayed to military court, 7 of them are shot. The beginning of rapid growth of Sevastopol is inseparably linked with a name of M.P. Lazarev. Appointed the Chief of Staff of the Black Sea Fleet in 1832, and later the Commander-in-Chief of the Fleet and Ports and the Military City Governor, it builds the Admiralty with the enterprises of ship repair and shipbuilding on coast of ship and southern bays. Having created this production fleet base M.P. Lazarev starts reconstruction and building of the city for what on October 25 the first master plan of Sevastopol. On November 1840 was developed and accepted. In particular, one-story building of the central hill carrying the name Ridge of Lawlessness was demolished, having made room for buildings in the spirit of classicism. At the same time, quicker than in other cities of the Crimea, the population of Sevastopol grew. As of 1850 it made 45046 people, of them 32692 the lower military ranks. Further development of the city was provided by the Master Plan of 1851, but its accomplishment was interfered by the Crimean War. Crimean War, further development of Sevastopol. Sevastopol played a key role in the Crimean War of 1853-1856 on September 14. 1854 the 62,000 connected army of England, France and Turkey landed near Yevpatoria and went to Sevastopol, in which defense 25,000 seamen and the 7,000 garrison of the city rose. Also the benefit of the fleet of attackers was overwhelming in view of what it was later the decision on flooding of the Russian ships for blockage of an entrance to the Sevastopol Bay is made. Victor Hugo compared a siege of Sevastopol to a siege of Troy. The historian Camille Roos so explains Hugo's metaphor. All this also occurred on an earth corner, on border between Asia and Europe where great empires met. 10 years in front of Troy, 10 months in front of Sevastopol. 13 on September 25. The city was announced in a state of siege, the heroic defense of Sevastopol lasting 349 days till August 27 began. On September 1855. Thanks to unprecedented courage of defenders, despite 6 massive bombings and 2 storms, Allies could not take naval fortress Sevastopol. Though as a result the Russian troops departed on north side, they left to the opponent some ruins. Occupation of Sevastopol by Allies continued till June 23. On July 1856. Under the Parisian Peace Treaty of 1856 of Russia and Turkey, it was prohibited to have the military fleet on the Black Sea. The destroyed city for a while lost a strategic importance, but became the large center of tourism. After abolition of military port to Sevastopol, calling of foreign merchant ships was resolved. In 1867 Sevastopol was visited by Mark Twain. In Talks Abroad, it so described the city. Pompeii remained far better than Sevastopol. In what party look, ruins, ruins alone everywhere. The destroyed houses, the fallen off walls, heaps of fragments, utter ruin. As if the terrible earthquake all the power fell upon this plot of land. Long 1.5 years war raged here and left the city in such ruins than which is more sad not vidano under the sun. Any house did not remain safe, it is impossible to live in one. It is difficult to imagine more awful, more final fracture. Houses were built on conscience here, put from a stone, but gun kernels beat them again and again, broke roofs, split walls from top to bottom, and now on half miles some broken chimneys last here. Even it is impossible to guess as these houses looked. At the biggest buildings corners are demolished, columns are split in half, eaves are smashed and walls holes gape. Other of them such round and accurate as if they were drilled a drill. Others are punched not through, and in a wall there was such equal, smooth and accurate trace as if it was ground purposely. Here and there kernels got stuck in walls, and rusty tears exude from under them, leaving a dark path on a stone. In 1875 the railroad Kharkiv, Sevastopol, connecting the continent of the country to the city is constructed. Need of revival of the Russian Black Sea Fleet arose again during the Russian-Turkish War of 1877-1878 when Turkey entered the armored fleet into the Black Sea, and Russia could oppose only the armed merchant ships and the light ships. In 1890 Sevastopol is ranked as the category of fortresses. The trade port is transferred to Feodosia. In 1901 in the city the first social democratic circles appeared. In 1902 they united in the Sevastopol Working Organization. On its basis in 1903 the Sevastopol Committee Erzurp is created. 14. The world-famous panorama defense of Sevastopol of 1854-1855 constructed on the project of the engineer O. 1. Enberg and the architect 5. A. Feldman, the artist F.A. Roubaud is open on May 27, 1905. In days of the First Russian Revolution there was a revolt on the Potyomkin battleship. Its example caused speeches of sailors by other ships of the Black Sea Fleet. In November 1905 crews of 14 fighting ships, workers of port and sea plant, soldiers of garrison participated in an armed revolt. 14. On November 27, 1905 the red colors were hoisted on the cruiser Ochakov. The Lieutenant P. Schmidt headed the first connection of the ships of the revolutionary fleet. Troops suppressed a mutiny, and his heads P. Schmidt and others were shot. Civil War. In 1917, after the October Revolution, the power in the city passed to Council of Military and Working Deputies. After the short period of the power of social revolutionaries and Mensheviks in council, new elections where the majority was received by Bolsheviks were held. The Soviet power was finalized after the city occupation by Bolsheviks and retreats of troops of Wrangel on November 15, 1920. The historian Sergei Melganov read Terror in Russia writes in the book that Sevastopol, along with Balaklava, became one of those Crimean cities where the executions held by Bolsheviks accepted the largest sizes. Total number shot was about 29,000 people. As Melganov writes, to the population of Sevastopol by the Soviet authorities it was refused the right to complain of contractors of repressions, as it promoted white guards. Except the former soldiers and officers of the Russian Imperial Army, residents, workers of the Red Cross, figures of Zemstvos, journalists, etc. were shot. Great Patriotic War. On June 22, 1941 the city underwent the first bombing of the German aircraft which purpose was to mine from Bay Air, to block the fleet. The plan was ruined by an anti-aircraft and ship artillery of the Black Sea Fleet. After invasion of the German army into the Crimea, the defense of the city continuing 250 days began. On October 30, 1941, on July 4, 1942. On November 4, 1941 the Rate of General Headquarters created the Sevastopol Defensive District. The Soviet troops of Seaside Army. Major General Idest Petrov. And forces of the Black Sea Fleet. Vice Admiral F.S. Oktyarsky. Reflected two large approaches of the 11th Army of Manstein in November and December 1941, having held down large forces of the opponent. Reorganization of all life of the city on a military harmony, work for the front of the Sevastopol enterprises the City Committee of Defense. Keepees. The chairman, the first secretary of the Sevastopol City Town Committee of the All-Union Communist Party. Bolsheviks. B.A. Borisov directed. Near Sevastopol, the active guerrilla movement which joined pioneers and Komsomol members was developed. Among them there were Valery Volkov and Viler Chekmak. In July 1942, garrison of Sevastopol and also the troops evacuated from Odessa 4 weeks defended against superior forces of the opponent. The city was left to Soviet troops, only when opportunities of defense were exhausted. It happened on July 9, 1942. According to plans of Nazis, the city had to be renamed into Theodorikhofen, German of Theoderikshafen. However, these plans were not performed. In 1942-1944, Sevastopol underground, the participant of defense of the city 5. D. Rivyakin directed. During the German occupation, the city was almost finally destroyed. All industrial enterprises and objects of municipal services are completely destroyed. No more than 6% of pre-war housing stock survived. In the city, 27,000 civilians were exterminated. Apart from the shot and tortured prisoners of war, 42,000 are taken out for forced labor to Germany. At the time of release in Sevastopol there were only 3,000 civilians. Only into prisoner of war camps and barracks of the former semi-crew of the Black Sea Fleet and an infirmary at the Sevastopol prison, it was destroyed and starved by hunger up to 5,000 Soviet prisoners of war. During the Crimean offensive transaction from April 17 to April 19, the advanced parts of 3 Soviet armies of the 4th Ukrainian Front, General F. 1. Tolbukhin, came with fights to distant approaches to Sevastopol. On April 23-25 an attempt of release of the city was made, but it was succeeded to progress on a number of the directions up to 5 kilometers and to seize several strong points of the German defense. Germans managed to occupy strong defense, using at the same time the Soviet strengthenings of 1941-1942. Marshal A.M. Vasilevsky achieved from I-5. Stalin suspension of decisive storm for several days for pulling up of heavy artillery and enough ammunition, and also all lagged behind rear parts. On May 5, 1944 decisive storm on the distracting directions began. Storm of the main German defensive strengthenings to Sapengor began on May 7, the city was freed on May 9. On May 12 the Cape Chersonese was cleaned from a remaining balance of the German troops. The order of the Supreme Commander of May 1, 1945 No. 20 Leningrad, Stalingrad, Sevastopol and Odessa were called hero towns. In post-war years the city was again completely restored. On November 19, 1944 the resolution of Council of People's Commissars of the USSR about actions for restoration of the city of Sevastopol was accepted. In 1945 it was included in the list from 15 cities which are subject to restoration. First of all, in the 1950th years are built up a ring of streets and squares around the main city hill. In 1960th and 1970th, a number of new residential areas, near the former Kulikova field General Austriakov Avenue is built, quarters on coast of Streletsky and Cane Bays, on north side are built up. In 1954, the building of a panorama defense of Sevastopol of 1854-1855 is recreated. In 1957, the new building of City Russian Drama Theatre is built. In 1959, the diorama Storm of Sapangori on May 7, 1944 opened. At Nakhimov Square in 1964-1967, the Memorial of Heroic Defense of Sevastopol of 1941-1942 is built. In the Soviet years, the city was one of the most net and arranged well in the USSR. In the city, a number of the academic and industry scientific research institutes is based. The Institute of Biology of the Southern Seas, based on the Sea Biological Station, and Sea Hydrophysical Institute in USSR, the Sevastopol office of the State Institute of Oceanology and Oceanography, the Black Sea branch of Scientific Research Institute of Technology of Shipbuilding, and some other. There are in Sevastopol also higher education institutions. The Sevastopol Instrument Making Institute, which quickly rose in the largest polytechnical higher education institutions of the country and two highest naval schools. Black Sea of Nakhimov, Chevmu. In the Streletsky Beam in Sevastopol, Engineering in the area Holland. Cvivmi. In 1954, bicentenary of the first heroic defense, the city is awarded the Order the Red Banner. On May 8, 1965, Sevastopol as the hero town was awarded with the medal, Gold Star, and in 1983 awarded the order to in the October Revolution. In 1948, Sevastopol was allocated in the Independent Administrative Center, and is referred to category of cities of Republican subordination, and in 1954 was actually transferred to structure of the Ukrainian Ser. On January 20, 1991, in the city, the referendum on which 97% of inhabitants supported the status of Sevastopol, the main base of the Black Sea Fleet, the city of Allied and Republican subordination, was held. On an all-Ukrainian referendum on December 1, 1991, 57% of the voted residents of Sevastopol voted for independence of Ukraine. In Crimean, the USSR -54%. After the collapse of the USSR in 1991 and adoptions of the new Constitution of Ukraine in 1996, Sevastopol, according to Article 133 of the Constitution, was carried to number of the cities with the special status, having become an administrative unit of the first level, along with the capital of the country, Kiev. It was not a part of the Autonomous Republic of Crimea. After adoption in 1999 of the law on the capital of Ukraine, Sevastopol remained the only city in Ukraine which mayor, the head of the Sevastopol City Public Administration, was not elected and was appointed the President of Ukraine. However, the City Council of Sevastopol had the right to veto any decision of the mayor, heads of administration of Sevastopol. As a result of events of February-March 2014, Sevastopol, as well as practically all other Crimea, was annexed to the Russian Federation. This event was directly preceded by the months-long anti-presidential and anti-government protests in Ukraine, Euromaidan, which came to the end in February with a shift of 2014 year of Viktor Yanukovych from country's presidential post. The first actions of the opposition which came to the power in Kiev caused in the Crimea protests local, in the bulk Russian-speaking, the population. The Russian leaders, according to the Russian President Vladimir Putin, in the morning on February 23, 2014 made the decision, begin work on return of the Crimea to structure of Russia. During the further events it rendered full military, material, financial, diplomatic and psychological support to the pro-Russian forces on the peninsula. On February 23, 24, 2014, under pressure of residents, change of executive authorities of Sevastopol was performed. The entrepreneur and the citizen of Russia Alexei Chaly appointed the head of the Sevastopol municipal government of ensuring activity of the city and the chairman of coordination council, and it became the actual mayor. During the meeting it was declared creation of community defense volunteer squads from among volunteers. On March 1, deputies of the Sevastopol City Council voted for non-obedience to decisions of the new authorities of Ukraine and supported holding in the Crimea a referendum on the status of autonomy, having given appropriate authority to Coordination Council of Sevastopol on defense and ensuring activity of the city. On March 6, 2014, at the extraordinary session of the Sevastopol City Council, decisions on entry of the city of Sevastopol into structure of the Russian Federation, on support of the decision of the Supreme Council of the Autonomous Republic of Crimea on holding the All-Crimean referendum and on participation of the city in its carrying out, were made. On March 11, 2014, the Sevastopol City Council and the Supreme Council of the ARC adopted the Declaration on Independence of the Autonomous Republic of Crimea and the city of Sevastopol. On March 16, the referendum on the status of the Crimea was held. On March 17, the protocol of the Sevastopol City Commission of a referendum was unanimously approved by City Council. According to the protocol, 89.5% of voters of Sevastopol and 95.6% from them participated in a referendum supported annexation of the Crimea to Russia. In the territory of the Crimea, the independent Republic of Crimea, into which Sevastopol was included as the city with a special status, was proclaimed. The Sevastopol City Council addressed Russia with an initiative about inclusion of the city of Sevastopol in structure of the Russian Federation as separate subject, federal city, and announced itself Legislative Assembly of Sevastopol later. On March 18, Russia and the Crimean authorities signed the agreement on inclusion of the independent Republic of Crimea, including the city of Sevastopol, in structure of Russia, with education of two new subjects, the Republic of Crimea and the federal city of Sevastopol. In 3 days, the President of Russia Vladimir Putin signed the law on ratification of the agreement and the federal constitutional law on annexation of the Crimea to Russia. The decree on creation of the Crimean Federal District, which structure included the Republic of Crimea and the federal city of Sevastopol, was at the same time signed. On April 1, deputies of Legislative Assembly of Sevastopol decided that a management official of the city of Sevastopol is the city governor of Sevastopol. In the same day they unanimously made the decision on Alexei Chaly's appointment, the acting as the city governor. On April 2, the President Putin signed the decree on inclusion of Sevastopol in structure of the Southern Military District. On April 11, Sevastopol is included in the list of territorial subjects of the Russian Federation in the Constitution of Russia. On the same day, the Charter of Sevastopol was adopted. On July 28, 2016, Sevastopol was included in structure of the Southern Federal District. On April 1, 2018, in structure of North Caucasus Economic Region. On December 25, 2019, the first arrived in Sevastopol after a construction of a railway part of Krymsky Bridge train street. Petersburg, Sevastopol. Legal status. Since 2014, legal status of Sevastopol is a subject of disagreements between Russia, which established control over mostly Crimean Peninsula, and Ukraine. According to an official position of Russia, according to free and voluntary will of the people of the Crimea on the All-Crimean referendum on March 16, 2014, and the agreement on admission of the Republic of Crimea to the Russian Federation of March 18, 2014, the Republic of Crimea and Sevastopol are an integral part of the Russian Federation. And the Constitution of the Russian Federation refers Sevastopol to category of the federal cities to 3. Earlier, in the 1990s legislature of Russia, the Supreme Council and Federal Assembly asked about confirmation of the Russian status, referring to the Decree of Presidium of versus Resfers of 1948. However, real change of accessory of the cities decisions did not until also in 1997, 2014, the leadership of Russia of official requirements for an occasion of return of the Crimea did not show determination of the status of Sevastopol, and legal consequences of the decree for Sevastopol are a subject of discussions between the Russian and Ukrainian authorities. According to an official position of Ukraine, the Autonomous Republic of Crimea and Sevastopol are an integral part of the sovereign Ukrainian state to which operation of the Constitution and laws of Ukraine extends, and are considered as temporarily occupied. The Constitution of Ukraine refers Sevastopol to category of the cities having the special status determined by laws of Ukraine, and the Law of Ukraine of February 5, 2015, about fundamentals of the state regional policy, defines the city of Sevastopol as one of regions of the country. The law about ensuring the rights and freedoms of citizens and a legal regime in temporarily occupied territory of Ukraine in the Ukrainian legal framework established a number of restrictions and withdrawals in relation to the territory of Sevastopol to 5. On March 27, 2014, the United Nations General Assembly adopted the resolution on the commitment of territorial integrity of Ukraine and its internationally recognized borders, non-recognition of the Crimean referendum, and the changes of the status of the Autonomous Republic of Crimea and the city of Sevastopol based on it. From 193 member states of the Union, 100 states voted for adoption of the resolution, refrained -58, against the resolution 11 states voted. On December 19, 2016, the Union General Assembly adopted the resolution on human rights in the Crimea, in which preamble it condemned temporary occupation of the Autonomous Republic of Crimea and Sevastopol, and confirmed annexation non-recognition the Crimean Peninsula. 70 countries voted for the document, against -26, 77 countries refrained and 20 countries did not vote. Resolutions of the General Assembly have advisory nature and are not obligatory for accomplishment. City symbols. Flag of Sevastopol, the rectangular panel of claret color in the center of which is placed the color image of the coat of arms of Sevastopol according to the official description of the coat of arms. A ratio of width of a flag to length to 3. Overall width of the image of the coat of arms on a flag is 2/5 parts from flag panel length. The municipal coat of arms represents a slanted heraldic board of the French type, in silver. On a flag, white. A topmount in the image of the medal, Gold Star, with which the city was awarded in 1965 for courage and heroism shown by defenders of the city in days of the Great Patriotic War, is located in azure. On a flag, blue. A bottom margin, the monument to the ships flooded in the years of the Crimean War, is represented. Two fields are united by the gold laurel branch, symbolizing historical continuity between the past and the present of the city. The anthem of this city is the composition, Legendary Sevastopol, of the composer Vano Muradeli and the poet Piet Gradov, performed for the first time in 1954. The official status of composition as Anthem of the City of Sevastopol. It was established by the decision of the I session of the City Council of the 22 Convocation of July 29, 1994. Population. For January 1, 2021 on population, the city was in the 37th place from 1116 cities of the Russian Federation. Following the results of a population census in the Crimean Federal District as of October 14, 2014, the resident population of the city of Sevastopol is territorial subject of the Russian Federation was 393,304 persons. The most part of the population of the city is made by the Russian -81%, 303.1 thousand people. On the second place, Ukrainians -14.2%, 52.9 thousand people. According to Rosstat, as of January 1, 2022, the population of the city of Sevastopol is territorial subject of the Russian Federation was 529,883 persons, including urban population -405,810 people, 92.98%, and rural -30653 persons, 7.02%. As of January 1, 2021, the total number of resident population -509,992 people. Children. From them, men of -46.4%, women -53.6%, including city -418,754 persons, 11%. And rural persons, 17.89%. Population density in the territory of the federal city of Sevastopol makes 590.27 people on 1 km. On statistical data in 2014 in the city, including Inkerman, the Ets of Kocha and village councils, 4881 children were born, that is 418 children more than a year ago. Also, for the analyzed period, 5537 people died, that is 211 more in comparison with previous year. The migration gain in Sevastopol for last year made people, generally at the expense of a large number of displaced persons of the Donetsk and Luhansk regions of Ukraine and of regions of Rarier. By the end of 2020, the population of Sevastopol officially exceeded 500,000 inhabitants. As of 2017, in structure of the population of Sevastopol, children age up to 16 years make 16.5%, men and women of a retirement age, 60 and 55 years respectively, -27.1%. In total in Sevastopol, men -204.5 thousand people, 46.9%. Of women -231,000 people, 53.1%. According to the statistics for 2017, average age of the population in Sevastopol is 40.7 years, fertility coefficient -1.62. Average life expectancy of residents of Sevastopol makes 73.4 years. Religion and temples. According to Management of Federal State Statistics Service on across the Republic of Crimea and Sevastopol in 2020 in Sevastopol. Territory of the federal city. 108 religious organizations were officially registered. Orthodox churches. The Mosque Akyarduyu Medaemi in Sevastopol. The Cathedral Mosque. It is open in 1914. Its construction was financed in particular and from personal means of the Emperor Nicholas II. In 1938, the building of the mosque, the Soviet power was delegated to the Black Sea Fleet for use as a warehouse. In 1948, the dome of the mosque was destroyed and the minaret is demolished. The building was returned to the Muslim community only in 1994. Then at a financial support of Turkey, restoration of the mosque was made, and in 2000 the minaret was restored. In April 2014, messages that the Regional Public Fund of Akhmat Haji Kadirev made the decision on assignment for repair of the old mosque in Sevastopol and construction of one more new mosque appeared. Soldiers' Synagogue, a house of worship of the Nikolov soldiers, veterans of the Crimean War. It is destroyed during the Great Patriotic War. Completion of construction of a synagogue of the Jewish religious community, Shabbat. Its construction before annexation of the Crimea to Russia was financed by the Ukrainian businessman Igor Kolomoisky. Is supposed in it the Russian Jewish community stated intention to help. Modern borders of administrative regions were established in 1977 by the decision of the Executive Committee of the City Soviet of People's Deputies No. 3/93 of February 8, 1977, about borders of districts of Sevastopol. In terms of the Russian legislation, the federal city of Sevastopol within the administrative territorial device is divided into the 4th administrative and territorial units minus 4 districts of the city of Sevastopol. Balaklava District 62385. Gagarinsky District 180,612. Leninsky District 132,878. Nakhimov Area 134,117. Within the municipal device, in borders of districts of the city, 10 intracity municipal units were formed. 1 city and 9 municipal districts. The population of 7 intracity municipal units is divided between 42 settlements. The city of Inkerman carried by bodies of statistics 2 city settlements, the settlement of Balaklava, the settlement of Kocha, and also 39 rural settlements, including 1 settlement, 36 villages and 2 settlements without indication of their category. The Sevastopol city community is divided into 4 administrative regions. The list of 2 of them, Gagarinsky and Lenin, includes only city quarters and 2 others, Balaklava and Nakhimov. Also the settlement of Balaklava, the city of Inkerman, the settlement of Kocha, and 39 rural settlements, from which 28 villages, 1 settlement were distinguished earlier, and more than 30 settlements without the status of the settlement. Agrarian type or special settlements are subordinated. List of areas. Gagarinsky District, western part of the city. Leninsky District, central part of the city. Nakimav area. Northern part of the city. North side and territories to the north from the river Balbek, including the Yachts of Kacha. Balaklava district. Southeast part of the city, including city of Inkerman. Authorities. According to the city charter. Legislature of Sevastopol. The Legislative Assembly of the City of Sevastopol, consisting of 24 deputies, is 16 people are elected according to party lists and 8 on majority. The acting structure of City Parliament is elected on September 14, 2014. The Chairman of Legislative Assembly since September 6, 2016 is Ekaterina Altabayeva. A management official and the chief executive, according to the charter, is the governor of Sevastopol, elected by way of direct elections. Before amending the charter November 2016, Legislative Assembly from among the candidates provided by the President of Russia. The acting as the governor since July 28, 2016 is Dmitry Ovyannikov. Councils of Deputies of the municipal units of the city of Sevastopol chosen for a period of 2 years work in the city. The first convocation worked about 2014-2016. Economy. Financial sphere. After annexation of the Crimea and Sevastopol to the Russian Federation, parameters of budgets of again formed territorial subjects of the Federation sharply increased. First of all, it is connected with realization of actions of the Federal Target Program, social and economic development of the Republic of Crimea and Sevastopol till 2022. At the same time, a considerable part of revenues of the city budget, from 55 to 70%, is formed due to non-paid receipts of the federal budget. In turn, the main part of own income of the city budget, the tax revenues, formed mainly for the account of taxation on revenues of natural persons. 8.6 billion rubles, 19% of revenues of the budget. An income tax of the enterprises. 1.5 billion rubles, of 3% of revenues of the budget. Or for 1.10. 2018, the banking sector of the city is provided by 80 bank divisions, including 2 independent banks. The largest network of offices at Ranuk. Also in the city, Genbank, Bank Russia, Crane-Vest Bank, the Sevastopol Sea Bank and others are provided. The size of the liabilities created in the territory of Sevastopol was 36 billion rubles. The loan portfolio is 8.6 billion rubles. Payment infrastructure for retail payments in the city is created by 1071/8, 3652 POS terminals. As of May 2021, Sevastopol takes the 59th place in the rating of economic and social situation, RIA rating, among Russian regions. The average salary in Sevastopol for 2020 was rubles. The basis of commodity structure of export was made by food products and agricultural raw materials, except textile, machines, equipment and vehicles, metals and products from them, textiles, textile products and footwear, products of chemical industry, rubber. The basis of commodity structure of import is made by machines, the equipment and vehicles, food products and agricultural raw materials, except textile, wood and pulp and paper products, metals and products from them, Products of chemical industry, rubber. According to Job Center of Sevastopol, for the end of 2020 unemployment rate was 4.4%. Real estate. According to a number of analytical researches, the cost of housing Sevastopol takes the 5th place among the cities of Russia. As of 2019, the average cost of 1 square meter of housing in secondary market is about 67,000 rubles. And the price of square meter in Sevastopol depends on a location more distances to the sea than on quality of housing. In primary market, reduction of prices in process of removal of the site from the downtown is not traced. The total area of housing stock of Sevastopol in 2016 was 7.7 molnam. At the same time, in 2014 the total area of the new leased housing in Sevastopol was 157,000 square m. In 2015, 135,000 square m. And in 2016, already 292,000 square m. Following the results of work of industrial enterprises of the city in January-September 2018 in comparison with the same period of last year, the index of industrial production made 114.1%. As of, the number of the enterprises of the industry was made by 624 units. Industrial output following the results of 2017 was 19.4 billion rubles. Sevastopol is the largest center of the fishing and fish processing industry. In 1964, on coast of the Cane Bay, the Sevastopol Sea Fish Port basic for the fishing fleet of the south of the country was built. In Soviet period, goods turnover of port exceeded 1 million tons per year. In 1993 it fell up to 349,000, but again grew by 2003, having made over 3 million tons. For 2004 in the city 28 enterprises for catch and processing of fish worked. The largest of them, Jesk Sevastopol Fish Canning Plant and Els Fish Canning Plant Novi. The total amount of catch of fish which was performed by 74 vessels for the first half of the year 2017 was 17.1 thousand tons. In 2018 the Sevastopol enterprises in the Azovo-Chernomorsky pool extracted 25.12 thousand tons of water biological resources, in 2018 29.46 thousand tons. The processing enterprises specializing in production of canned food on estate for 2016 produced about 16.1 million physical cans. In Sevastopol several ship repair and shipbuilding plants work, the largest of which is the 13th ship repair plant, which is providing employment to nearly 1,800 people and being the largest taxpayer of the city. Also, among them, one of the largest similar enterprises of the Azovo-Chernomorsky region with more than 200-year history, Pisk Sevastopol Sea Plant. At this plant the largest were under construction unloading capacity sea floating cranes of the USR, from 100 to 1,600 tons. From the middle of the 20th century the plant of ship beacon lighting engineering works for the shipbuilding industry of the city. Sici Commutazione Operatory is engaged in production of electric equipment and radio equipment. In the city large design offices, such as KDD Coral and KDD Chernomorets, which are engaged in project development for military shipbuilding and production of natural resources in the Arctic, are located. Many houses of modern Sevastopol are built of Inkermansky limestone, which extraction is conducted near the city by an open method. The construction enterprises, such as the Inkermansky plant of construction materials founded in 1944 for restoration of the destroyed Sevastopol. The clothing and knitted industry is provided by a number of the enterprises which are releasing the products which are in broad demand in all regions of Ukraine. The garment factory of Onilova is supplied with difficult units with program control. Annually roll several thousands of men's suits off the production lines of factory. In January-March 2017, the enterprises and the organizations mastered 2.1 billion rubles of investments into fixed capital, that is 3.1 times more than in January-March 2016. As of January 1, 2014, the total amount of the direct foreign investments to the city of Sevastopol was $191.2 million. The largest amount of the foreign investments are received from Cyprus, 57.3%, and Russia, 15.1%. Investments were directed to construction and commissioning of specialized port terminals for transfer of bulk freights, grain and other types of freights in Sevastopol and Cane Bay. Agriculture. For January-September 2018, production of agriculture in the comparable prices in relation to the corresponding period of 2017 decreased by 6.1%. By a provisional estimate, the volume of production of agriculture of all agricultural producers in the current prices was 1.4 billion rubles. The number of cattle in farms of all categories made 2.5 thousand heads and increased by 0.1% in comparison with from it cows minus 1.1 thousand heads, 0.2% less. Pigs minus 0.9 thousand heads, 13.3% less. Sheep and goats minus 1.1 thousand heads, 37.7% less. Birds of all types minus 173. 5,000 heads. The PC of Sevastopol includes 21,000 hectares of farmlands on which 4.3 thousand hectares of vineyards are located, with average yield of 44.5 c/hectare. And about 800 hectares of gardens. There is a small livestock production, in number of 2481 heads of cattle. Vinogradarsko Vinodalchesty is the leading industry of agricultural industry of the city. The area occupied with vineyards about 3,000 hectares in 2018 are mortgaged new vineyards on the area of 158 hectares. Everything, from 2014 to 2018, 980 hectares of vineyards were updated and over 840 hectares new are mortgaged. Also, by data for 2018, in the city about 16 million bottles of wine were poured, that delivered Sevastopol on the 4th place among regions of Russia. Champagne and sparkling wines releases, the Sevastopol Winery, Vintage Wines, Inkermansky plant of vintage wines. The plant is one of the largest taxpayers of the city. In 2015 was paid taxes on total amount of 628 million rubles. 1,300 people are employed at the enterprise. Besides, in the neighborhood of the city since 1968, Vineyards of Gold Beam agricultural firm which started own production with an annual amount of products of 5.5 million bottles of sparkling wines are located. Trade. Retail turnover for January-September 2018 was 48.4 billion rubles, that is 1.8% more than for the comparable period of 2017. Turnover of public catering for January-September 2018 of rather comparable period of previous year increased by 0.6% and made 3.9 billion rubles. In the territory of the city, more than 35 markets, the largest of them, Central, where an wholesale product act on the 5th km of Balaklavskoy Highway, on the Ship Party in Balaklava, on Yumashev Street, Frukin Street, Tolstoy Street, Moscow, in the Streletsky Bay, on north side, the automobile market on the Cape Violent. In Sevastopol, shopping facilities of large international, federal and also local retail networks, among them Novus, Food, the Buffet Reception, Silpo, Metro AG, Apple, Jeans Function. Also works the construction epicenter and Dobrostroy supermarkets. In addition, the population of Sevastopol is served by a number of shopping centers, the largest of which are Shopping Center Musin. The area more than 50000 m. And Shopping Center C Mall. The area more than 20000 m. The building of CUM is an architecture monument. As of the middle of 2021, in the territory of Sevastopol, 4 power plants with a general power of 663. 1 museum, including 3 thermal power plants and 1 solar power station, were operated. In 2020 they produced 2680 million each electric power. In Sevastopol the power of electricity consumption is about 210 million. The main power producer is the 496.8 million Balaklava thermal power plant. Also in the region there are the 33 million Sevastopol combined heat and power plant. Since 2019 does not develop the electric power. The 129. 3 million Sevastopol Jagds working in the peak mode. And the 3 million small solar power station. In addition, in the city 217 diesel power plants, with a total power of 30 million, which are used for emergency power supply of the enterprises providing activity of the city, are installed. In Sevastopol, in the Cane Bay, the most powerful boiler house in the Crimea, minus 255 million, constructed in 1976-1986, is located. In total 114 boiler houses of the belonging works of Sevastopolnergo of CGS with a general power of 756 million work in the city. The annual leave of heat on heating makes 780,000 GAL and 230,000 GAL on hot water supply. The centralized water supply of Sevastopol provides the state unitary enterprise of the city of Sevastopol Vodokanal. Main sources of water supply: Chernochensky Reservoir, Bilbeksky, Vilinsky and Oriel water intakes, Inkerman. Through a water supply system with a total length more than 800 kilometers, 150,000 m of water are every day delivered. Transport. Railway station. In the 19th century the city quickly grew, and after 1875, when the railroad appeared, began to grow even quicker. At all times Sevastopol could not do without seaport. Nowadays in Sevastopol there are also a long-distance bus station and the Belbek airport. In 1898, new transport became available to residents of Sevastopol. The tram, which was one of the first in the Russian Empire. In 1925, the long-distance Sevastopol-Balaklava line was built. During war, the most part of lines was destroyed. After liberation of Sevastopol, the decision streetcar service was made not to restore, as in the conditions of strong height differences and narrow roads trams were inconvenient. A remaining balance of ways was dismantled. A remaining balance of the rolling stock is transferred to the tram park of Yevpatoria. It was succeeded by new transport, the trolleybus. For a long time it became a main type of public transport in the city. As a result, at the time of the USSR, trolleybuses were often crowded. A state big and average buses went seldom and irregularly, without unloading trolleybuses. Only 1990s were come to the rescue by share taxis. In a local popular speech, a topic as the first share taxis were the Korean brand of Kia Asia Topic, and later buses of average capacity. In 2016-2020, 265 buses of average and high capacity were in addition purchased. Besides, during 2017-2018 to Sevastopol 128 new trolleybuses. From them 34 with the autonomous course are delivered as well. In 2020 100 trolleybuses were delivered. From them 16 with the autonomous course. As of 2021 there are 16 routes of trolleybuses. 3 from them with the autonomous course. With total number of cars minus 157 pieces which connect among themselves almost all districts of the city. Per day more than 300,000 passengers are transported. In addition, more than 80 routes of buses and share taxis work, including routes in Inkerman, Balaklava and other suburbs. Motor transport. In 1987 in Sevastopol more than 28,000 vehicles were registered. On 102,880 units are registered. At the expense of visitors, traffic flow increases by 4 or 5 times. Annually 50-100 new cars are registered. Through the end of 2017 the number of owned cars in Sevastopol reaches 217 on 1,000 people of the population that the region pulls together with the all-Russian indicators. The question of construction of the bridge through the Sevastopol Bay is considered on an equal basis with Vladivostok and Street. Petersburg and Sevastopol. The boat message between areas is Water City route public transport. To get on north side through the Sevastopol Bay, the boat or the ferry is used. 7 boats and 1 steamer used for transportation of passengers. Now there are such routes of boats. Kamper, north side. Artbukta, Radio Gorga. Kamper, Holland, Inkerman. Kamper, Holland. During the summer period routes work. Balaklava, the Cape Violent. Balaklava, the near beach, the Gold Beach. For transportation of cars the ferry is used. Artbukta, north side. Street. Petersburg ferry. In 2014 the Sevastopol, Novorossiysk line was open. Transportations of the motor transport on it are carried out by the street. Petersburg ferry, making 10 circular flights a month. Containers, the strong bulk carrier, making up to 4 circular flights a month. Since 2018, sea passenger traffic Sevastopol, Yalta by means of new passenger ships on underwater wings. The Comet 120M is carried up. In a year, Sevastopol visits about 1,000 sea vessels, including more than 200 foreign. Passenger and cargo transportation are performed more than with 40 countries of the world. Tourism. In the Sevastopol region, 49 km of beaches are located, more than 80 hotels and more than 200 guest houses, 4 sanatoria dispensaries, 9 boarding houses, 4 autocampings, 10 yacht clubs and more than 10 diving centers, more than 80 recreation facilities and objects, equated to them work. In 2014, more than 250,000 tourists and more than 1,640,000 tourists were served. Also, annually Sevastopol visits over 100,000 foreign tourists, more than from 45 countries of the world. Receipts in city budget from tourism industry made 668 million rubles. Yacht tourism. In Sevastopol, 7 yacht clubs at the moment function. In water areas of Sevastopol, sailing festivals, regattas and conferences, including all Ukrainian Black Sea Rally Regatta of Seatronics Intellect Cup, the Black Sea Yacht Rally, Willik, which organize the Turkish sailing marinas, Attack, the sailing festival in Sevastopol acts are held. The rich military historical heritage caused development of military and historical tourism in the city. Military and historical reconstruction. Nightly tournaments at the Genoa fortress of Kambalo, reconstruction of fights of the Crimean War in Death Valley at Balaklava and in the historical boulevard of Sevastopol. It is militarized, the dramatized holiday, Slava's banners, to Sapangor. Enjoy wide popularity. Resort organizations. Atlantis Boarding House, Izmir Boarding House, Recreation Facility Emerald -2, Recreation Facility Dolphin, Improving Albatross Complex, Tourist Complex Star Coast, Tourist Lyubomori Complex, Tourist Complex of A5, No Krusev, Sanatorium Dispensary Builder, Sanatorium Dispensary of Kambalo, Tourist Sevastopol Complex, Radio Gorga, Sevastopol Boarding House, Area of the Bay Omega, Child Care Improving Facilities, Children's Sanatorium and Improving Center Laspi, Children's Albatross Camp, Children's Atlantic Camp, Children's Atlantis Camp, Children's Mountain Camp, Children's Nakamovitz Camp, Children's Omega Camp, Children's Joy Camp, Children's Tea Camp, Sports Horizon Camp, Camp of Work and Rest Surf, Theaters, Theater for Children and Youth on Big Sea, Russian Drama Theater of the Black Sea Fleet of B.A. Lavreniev, Sevastopol Academic Russian Drama Theater of A5, Lunacharsky, the Sevastopol Theater of Dance under the leadership of 5A. Yelizarav, Psycho del Art, Movie Theaters. The movie theaters functioning as of 2018. Victory, Russia, Moscow, Monsoon, Orange, Seaman, Sevastopol, Film World. In Sevastopol, 7 parks, 9 boulevards and more than 150 squares. The oldest of them, Historical, seaside and sailors boulevards, squares Pushkin and at Peter and Paul Cathedral. The largest park of the city is Victory Park. Zoo. Sevastopol Zoo. Media, printing editions. Television. State TV and Radio Broadcasting Company Sevastopol. It's Independent Television of Sevastopol. XTV. Newspapers. City on Palms. Courier. Announcements of Sevastopol. Call. Details. Avenue. Sevastopol newspaper. Slava Sevastopolia. Sevastopol troop. Homeland flag. Civil defense. Our newspaper, Sevastopol. From free advertising newspapers of Sevastopol, the most recognizable are Courier and Avenue. Total number of institutions of healthcare of Sevastopol for January 1, 2012 is 38. The network of municipal medical institutions of the city is kept and makes 26 polyclinics, hospitals, clinics and auxiliary services. Planned power of polyclinics. Visits per shift is 6930, number of beds in a hospital 2893. 10 hospitals and 3 clinics. The number of beds in hospitals is specified to corresponding SOTs. To the standard for Sevastopol, 79.0 beds on 10,000 population. The largest medical institution of Sevastopol is the City Hospital No. 1, founded in 1868. Staffing. Doctors -20 42 people. Average medical personnel, 4,078 persons. For November 1, 2016 on dispensary accounting in the age center it is observed -3474 people, from them with the diagnosis AIDS, the 224 persons. Education. Higher education institutions. Sevastopol State University. Black Sea, the highest naval awards of the Red Star School of Nakhimov. Branch of Lomonosov Moscow State University in Sevastopol. Sevastopol branch of Plekhanov Russian Academy of Economics. Branch in Sevastopol, the State Sea University of a name of the Admiral F.F. Yushakov. Sevastopol Economical and Humanitarian Institute of Q of 5.1. Vernadsky. Other educational institutions. Sevastopol Presidential Cadet School. Branch of Nakhimov Naval School. Professional educational institutions -6. Educational institutions -72. Including 42 comprehensive schools, 7 gymnasiums, 7 schools with profound studying of objects, 1 polytechnical lyceum, 5 boarding schools, 5 schools of category elementary school, kindergarten, 5 private schools. Educational institution of the Ministry of Defense of the Russian Federation -1. Preschool institutions -78. Sevastopol unemployment of pupils out of school education exceeded the level of Ukraine. On the level of people with the higher education, Sevastopol was in the second place in Ukraine. 28%. In Sevastopol, a number of non-political public organizations and also charitable organizations are registered. Severnaya Public Organization, the ecological direction, protection of social, economic and other common interests of members of public organization by consolidation of their efforts and coordination of activity. Works since 2009. Initiative Group, Sevastopol Mothers, Public Organization, Non-Political Social Movement. Public Association of Citizens, Fund of History and Culture of G.A. Turkishin is created and registered in Sevastopol in 1996. From the first days of the creation, the fund proved as a peculiar club of the Sevastopol intellectual elite. Sevastopol Club of Fishers Public Organization. Uyghur. Non-political public organization, is created at the initiative of group of amateur fishers of the hero town of Sevastopol. The Community Sevastopol Charity Foundation is created for providing the address help to the residents of Sevastopol who are in a difficult life situation which they cannot independently overcome. 85 organizations made public council at SKA till 2014. Since 2016 the public chamber works in the city. In it the organizations are provided. Consolidation of Patriots of Sevastopol, the Union of Football Fans of Sevastopol, the Anti-Maiden, the Sevastopol Fund of Culture and Art of G. Turkishin, Assistance to Business Development, Notarial Chamber, the Movement for Net Sevastopol, Officers of Russia, the Union of Builders of the City of Sevastopol, Football Federation of Sevastopol, Consolidation of Consumers of Russia, Association of Lawyers of Russia, Fighting Brotherhood, the Sevastopol Consolidation of Surge Groups, DOLG. Stadiums and Sports Complexes. Sevastopol. Stadium of the Black Sea Fleet, on reconstruction since 2020. Opening is planned for 2022. Gorniak. Reconstruction. 175 Center of Sea and Physical Training of the Black Sea Fleet. Is a part of the center. Sports Complex, Swimming Pool, Metallist Stadium, Base of Underwater Sport. Vane Masyashenko. Yacht Clubs. Beachdorp. Black Sea Fleet decorated with the Order of the Red Banner. Yacht Club. 57 Yacht Club of the Black Sea Fleet of the Russian Federation. Water Park. Sevastopol Marine Plant. Chersonese. South. Royal Pier. Moby Dick. Pools. Pula Sports Center of the 200th anniversary of Sevastopol. Pula Sports Club of Kafev. The Pool of Lomonosov Moscow State University branch in Sevastopol. Sports School Pool. Zerbigan Aquapark. Teams. Sevastopol Football Club. Khoro Rubin Football Club. Wave Football Club. Megastro Football Club. Kamo Football Club. Zenit Football Club. Don Ovik Football Club. Avantgarde Football Club. Metalworker Football Club. The Sevastopol Titans, club on the American soccer. Patriot Rugby Club. Sevastopol Basketball Club. Legion Hockey Club. PJeff's Mini Football Club. The national team of Sevastopol Water Polo. Send to Heavy Athletics Club. Sports and tourist clubs and sections. Yask Monsoon, the official cycling club uniting the directions of cycle tourism, sports tourism and a trial. Sevastopol Club of Tourists. Sevastopol City Federation of Sports Tourism. Center of Tourism, study of local law, sport and excursions. Tournaments, competitions. Tournament on prizes of Brothers of Sidorenko, an annual boxing tournament. The first 3 tournaments were held to Enerhodar. Since 2008 it is carried out in the fall in Sevastopol. The Big Peakless Cap Tournament, an annual tennis tournament. The tournament since 2006 traditionally on the eve of Day of Navy, which organizers of the Russian tennis club, Big Hat, an institute of the CIS countries, is held. Also far. Write comments. Read comments. Interesting people will tell interesting stories. All of good mood and good luck.